The Galaxy Z Flip 4 is less of an innovation and more of a refinement over last year's model. Samsung is really leaning into the young crowd with the content creation features and general vibe of the handset, leaving the mature and professional look for the Galaxy Z Fold 4. But I could say the same for the Flip 3. It was also a fun phone, but with heaps of improvements over its predecessor, including a radical redesign. So what makes the Flip 4 stand out? To be perfectly honest, not all that much, but that's not really a bad thing. See, it's not the upgrade I wanted to see over last year, but it still has enough small improvements to be called a better phone. The Galaxy Z Flip 4 starts at $999 US with 128 gigs of storage and 8 gigs of RAM, the same as last year for US customers, but a touch more for UK buyers. You can pay extra for a 256 gig model at $1,059 or the new 512 gig model for $1,179 if you want some extra storage room, but that's the only difference between the models. From the outside, the Galaxy Z Flip 4 hardly looks any different. If you love the clamshell foldable design, you'll probably be okay with this. The phone fits perfectly in my pocket without sticking out like some other larger phones do. Like last year, Samsung has provided a diverse suite of color options for the Flip 4. There's the graphite if you want something more sensible, or you could opt for the livelier blue, pink, gold, or bora purple options. If you look a little further, however, you'll notice the Flip 4 has flatter edges this year. They're glossy, unfortunately, and thus slippery, but they still manage to add some nice grip to an already ergonomic phone. The camera module sticks out a bit more on this model, possibly because of the new main 12-megapixel sensor. Samsung touted the slimmer and lighter hinge, though the Flip 4 still has a very noticeable hinge gap when the phone is closed. This is the gap between the two displays at the hinge when the device is folded. The covered display remains, offering you useful information and access to things such as Samsung Wallet or SmartThings. Opening the phone, I immediately noticed the slimmer bezels. The Flip 3 had some pretty large ones, so the Flip 4 looks a lot cleaner and more modern in comparison. The side-mounted power button also doubles as the fingerprint sensor like last year, and I continue to find its placement awkward and unnaturally high. And don't get me started on the volume rocker, which is near the top of the upper half's right side. The Galaxy Z Flip 4 didn't revolutionize the design like the Flip 3 did. This generation very obviously focuses on small improvements. On the inside, the Galaxy Z Flip 4 sports a 6.7-inch Super AMOLED display with a 1080p resolution and an adaptive 1 to 120 Hz refresh rate. Out of the box, it's deeply saturated in the characteristic Samsung way. They gotta show off the AMOLED's color capabilities. The cover screen is also a Super AMOLED panel. The Galaxy Z Flip 4 falls behind both the Galaxy S22 Plus and iPhone 13 Pro in terms of brightness. While 772 nits in our testing is very good and certainly legible outdoors, it's hard to unsee the bright S22 Plus and iPhone displays once you get used to them. But the Flip 4 turned in great results with our color benchmarks, even proving more color accurate than the iPhone 13 Pro. For example, watching the trailer for Blade Runner 2049 was a wonderful experience with the neons and harsh orange tones. Even the trailer for the Rings of Power looked good on this screen, even if the show itself does not. The display crease, or the joint where the two displays meet, remains with the Galaxy Z Flip 4. Unfortunately, it also remains rather prominent. You can see it in most circumstances and feel it every time you slide your finger over it. I had hoped that Samsung would have figured out a way to address this with the Flip 4, but that doesn't seem to be the case. With a 12-megapixel main sensor that Samsung says is 65% brighter, the Galaxy Z Flip 4 made marginal upgrades over the Flip 3. The 12-megapixel ultra-wide camera is the same, as is the 10-megapixel internal selfie cam, and from my testing, the software doesn't seem to have changed much either, but the night mode definitely has, which we'll get to in a minute. Starting off with this playground set outside compared to the iPhone 13 Pro Max, the Flip 4's image is noticeably brighter and more saturated than the iPhone's. The latter has a more subdued color profile and better exposure control compared to the Flip 4. Staying outside, here's a bowl of fruit to test the Flip 4's color reproduction. As you can see, the fruits are very vibrant, but also a bit too fantastical. I'm not thrilled to see the company's old oversaturated way stick around. The photo looks just unnatural. Look at the iPhone 13 Pro Max's image. The colors are still bright and inviting, but they don't sear my eyes. I much prefer the iPhone's shot because it's got far truer to life color accuracy, stronger exposure control, and better white balance. Heading inside, I took this photo of some brightly colored books. The Flip 4's saturation and exposure issue stands out immediately. Some of the book spines look blown out since the phone appeared to try to over-brighten the image. The pinks don't look good while the reds are too bright. Contrast this with the iPhone 13 Pro Max's shot. With much better control of colors and exposure, the iPhone produced an inviting picture that better shows off the books, even the shiny ones. I tested the Flip 4's ultra-wide lens with this scene of this pond behind my house. Here we see Samsung's fantastical look worsen over anything from the main camera. Not only are the trees way too green, but I can see the signs of too much warmth. The white balance just seems off. Granted, the Flip 4 produced some nice detail in the leaves and I like the sense of depth, but I do not like the yellowish green color profile. Looking at the iPhone 13 Pro Max's ultra-wide image makes the above observations much more obvious. The colors look more natural and the white balance is in check. However, where the iPhone falls behind the Flip 4 lies in the sky. See how the iPhone's picture looks too bright right above the trees. You can hardly make out the clouds. Not so with the Flip 4. The portraits from both phones look remarkably similar. The Galaxy Z Flip 4 applied a nice bokeh effect and has good lighting. However, I think it applied too much face smoothing, reducing my natural ruddiness. My eyes are also a bit too dark. The iPhone 13 Pro Max also has a nice bokeh effect and great lighting. It better captures my likeness and facial complexion, as well as making my eyes brighter and lighter, much like they are in real life. Both images look great, but I give the nod to the iPhone since it ranks higher in accuracy. I was initially skeptical about the Flip 4's nighttime performance, but my testing proved me wrong. The Flip 4 did a great job with this bowl of fruit outdoors at night. The sun had set with only a set of dim deck lights above for lighting. Colors look excellent, focus is sharp, and I like all of the detail. In fact, I like this image of the fruit better than one I had shot indoors earlier. But the iPhone 13 Pro Max also put up a good fight. Its effort looks just as good as the Flip 4 shot. The fruit looks bright and vibrant with great focus and depth. I honestly can't pick a winner here. The Flip 4 really knocked my socks off though. I'm picky about my selfies, and I don't think the Flip 4 produced a good one with its 10 megapixel sensor. I see way too much face smoothing, artificially scrubbing out my complexion. The warm tones give my skin a yellowish tinge. The only thing I like is that the Flip 4 played up the red in my beard. The iPhone 13 Pro Max leans into my ruddiness, but darkened my hair more than I'd like. I'm naturally a dark blonde, but my hair looks brown in the iPhone selfie. But I do like that you can see some of the white hairs in my beard. At the end of the day, I'd rather post the iPhone's picture than the Flip 4's. However, since the Flip 4 can fold in half, you can actually use the rear cameras to take selfies. So here's an example of that. This is a selfie I'd post, even before the iPhone 13 Pro Max's. I look properly blonde and ruddy with my reddish beard. The colors in the background also look great, especially the ominous storm clouds off in the distance. A new year equals a new chipset. Samsung went with the latest silicon from Qualcomm, the Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1, to power the Galaxy Z Flip 4, along with 8 gigs of RAM. We've tested this chip previously and found it to be a powerful option. The GPU, for example, saw a slight boost, but the new chipset unsurprisingly shows obvious improvements over the Snapdragon 888 in the Galaxy Z Flip 3. The Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 is a noticeable improvement over the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1, like the one found in the Galaxy S22 Plus. Single-core performance is about the same, but the gap widens in multi-core. The Flip 4 is, however, still a long way from the CPU performance beast that is the iPhone 13 Pro and its A15 Bionic chip. The Flip 4 flies through every task though, even intense games like Genshin Impact. 8 gigs of RAM seems low nowadays when we have gaming phones with 16 gigs or even 18 gigs of RAM, but I found it to be more than sufficient in my use. All of this to say the Flip 4 is one powerful little phone. It can handle any task with ease, even intense gaming. You definitely won't want for horsepower here. Samsung listened to criticisms about the Flip 3's battery life, which was just objectively bad. The Galaxy Z Flip 4 got a battery capacity bump from 3,300 mAh to 3,700 mAh. That extra 400 mAh boost doesn't seem like it'd be much, but it certainly made a difference. Samsung vastly improved the battery life and bumped the charging to 25 watts, with the Flip 4 going almost 3 hours longer in our testing than the Flip 3 did. While it's still below the 10-hour average we like to see, I have to applaud the Flip 4's longevity upgrade. It still dropped a noticeable percentage points when out photographing and gaming, but I find it hard to complain where I was sorely disappointed last year. The Galaxy Z Flip 4 ships with One UI 4.1 over top of Android 12. For the most part, it's similar to what you get on the Galaxy S22, but that's not the whole story. The Flip 4 gets access to several features specific to it. The highlight of these is Flex Mode, which takes full advantage of the folding displays. Flex Mode engages when you partially fold the Flip 4, such as at a 45 or 90 degree angle. Your current app will split, putting the main functionality on the upper half and additional options on the bottom. There's even a new trackpad feature, helping you navigate apps faster and easier. Last year, the best examples of this were the camera and YouTube apps. In the former, you could get all of the shutter controls and options on the bottom half of the phone, while the top operated as the viewfinder. With YouTube, you could watch a video on the upper half and browse comments or suggested videos on the bottom much more efficiently than a standard smartphone. However, Samsung has set its sights on the creative crowd, with the Flip 4's Flex mode offering many options for things like Instagram Reels, TikToks, videos and vlogs, and more. While most of this is lost on me, I think all of it might convince more people to try the Flip 4 for themselves.